Roll call.
David Ferguson,
Here.
Jenny Beverly, here. Kellen Cronin, Fred Stillwell,
Here.
Jim Klepper.
Here. We have enough for a quorum. Next on the agenda is consideration of minutes. We're looking to do January, February, March, and April.
I'll make a motion for all those minutes.
As presented. Got a second from Jim. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, we'll move on to current business. On this particular application, we've got some things have happened since then. And we've had a request to revoke the conditional use permit from the current permit. And that being said, I think that we ought to, my recommendation would be to table this decision till the June meeting. Because we couldn't get everything, the public hearing portion of it posted in time to conduct the request of revoke the conditional permit. So with that being in the whim, I think we ought to make a motion to table it and look at it at the June meeting.
I make a motion.
Table it. You got a second from Jim, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we'll move that meeting to June. Any other business? Okay, this might be the shortest meeting ever.
So I'm not understanding here. Is the revocation of the conditional use permit a separate matter? I know it's relating to this, but we have a pending special use exception, which is independent. I mean, it was triggered by the conditional use, but it stands by itself. And so, you know, for example, if we get to this meeting and I've met all the criteria and you approve it, that would kind of make that thing moot, it would seem to me. It would make the revocation of a conditional use permit, the conditional use permit, we're here not to modify. That, to me, I don't see the rationale why the special use permit, whoever filed that, is there a name attached to that revocation?
Yeah, I believe.
My name.
Yes, there is.
So because it's an ongoing business and it's operational, it's been operational for some time. I would like to go forward. Again, we can consider the revocation of the conditional use permit, but in the interim, if we get the special use permit, I think it makes it become moot, and I don't see the basis for. I understood that the board was voting on to table the revocation one pending, and let's go forward. Because we have a lot of folks here that are attending here and taking a lot of time, particularly the two fire chiefs from the Rikers Ridge Fire Department and Madison Township Fire Department, which were not here. And there were people at the last meeting that were blatantly lying about the fire situation, and I think it's essential that this meeting go forward to clear the air. I've been besmirched in the public press, and I think it's wrong. I have filed litigation against the water department. I have a preliminary injunction hearing coming up on May 20th because the water issue. I'm under I think that we need to have the special use exception meeting, because by reversing that, you're going to put me out of business. Is what you're going to do, and I don't think there's a grounds under your code to do that. I don't think the revocation. It's a subsequently filed event, and I don't believe it's. I'd like to ask the board to reconsider. I understand you were voting on the table, the revocation, because you don't even have to hold the public notices out on it. But I've done all my notices. I'm prepared, and we've got a lot of witnesses that spend a lot of time to prepare for this meeting. And what happened at last meeting was a travesty. And everything. So I'd like to have the board to reconsider the table, the revocation till next meeting. That's fine. You want to do that, but I think the special use exception has been pending. We have a lot of witnesses. I think it'd be a hardship on a lot of folks to do that.
Are you done?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, the only agenda item that was before this board today was the special exception.
yes,
The revocation was not on the agenda for today.
yes.
Because the hadn't been sufficient notice to put it on the agenda and you hadn't received sufficient notice to respond to it.
Right,
So procedurally, I recommended that this board shouldn't go forward on the revocation for that basis that in the May meeting.
okay,
So then the issue then becomes, if the county has pending before it two opposite actions, one to revoke the conditional use permit, the other, the current application for special exception, the county can't make inconsistent findings on basically the same on a very related issue. As you point out, they're very, very related issues. And so if the county makes a determination that the conditional use permit should be revoked for some reason, then that certainly is information that could be taken into account in considering the special use exception that's been applied for. So the problem is that there are two, as you say, two pending matters, but they are in a lot of ways overlapping, and that the county can't make inconsistent findings on those two issues.
because even if they revoke it, the next day, I can have my special exception here, or right after that, if they revoke it. Special
And that this board could certainly take into consideration, and if your conditional use permit was revoked, then this board could certainly take into consideration why it was revoked and what the reasoning for that was in the determination of whether or not to grant.
But it has no
special exception.
bearing on the special exception.
It does, I mean, because it's the same property, it's the
No.
same use.
It's, these are independent decisions. I mean, the conditional use permit goes away. If this special exception is granted, conditional use is done. It's gone. It's already taken care of. So procedurally, trying to revoke, to do a revocation in the middle of a special exception hearing, I just think is unbound. I just don't understand how, because they're separate matters. I'm having to do different criteria. It's a total brand new application. It is not a conditional use.
Because we don't have conditional uses anymore. We have special exceptions. They both fall under the exact same Indiana code. So the authority of this board to consider conditional use and special exception falls under the exact same statutory authority. It's just a different name for it under the current UDO. And so for all intents and purposes, the applications are very, very similar. And in fact, the whole reason that you're applying for the special exception is as a result of a change in the conditional use. So the board right before it right now certainly has the authority to table. I mean, both in the board's rules as well as statutorily, the board has the authority to table things that are in front of it from time to time. In addition to that, your conditional use permit remains in effect right now, which means that it has no effect on your current ability to continue to use the property as you are.
Say that again now.
Your conditional use permit is still in effect. It has not been revoked at this time,
No, I
which means
understand.
it doesn't impact, the decision today does not impact your ability to continue to use the property.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, it seems to me that if they want to attack the special use, but they're here tonight, the folks apparently that have filed this revocation, they can continue to object to my special use exception because it will take care of the issue. The conditional use permit is going to go away if I get a favorable comment. And to drag more mud into the press, which I'm certainly prepared to do that. I mean, there's already one pending litigation, and there could be more as a result of what happened last week. It's a travesty. It's a travesty that the machine didn't work that they had. Unfortunately, Madison Courier was gracious enough to make available the recording, and again, it's not as great as what's going to be there, but it captures a lot of things that need to be captured on video so the public can see what has transpired on here. And I'm telling you, I'm just telling you that I just do not understand the basis, because what you're saying is that you want someone to come here and drag me through the mud on a conditional use permit when I'm fully prepared. Give my presentation on the special use exception, and let the whatever the vote is, I accept the vote. That's part of the process. I'm part of the process. Let's vote on it. And then if they want to revoke the special exception permit, let them do that subsequently. But to try to put a gap. What they're trying to do is put a gap, because if they're successful, there could easily be a motion, simply because I know there's pending litigation with the water department, which is the problem, most likely is not going to be resolved anytime soon. I'm under a notice of violation and a determination notice on a daily, but that could be pulled to the plug anytime. So there's a lot of ramifications, and I think it would be an undue hardship to put me through something that makes no sense.
This board has no control over the water board or any other entity. This board has no control over the press or what other people say in the press. I think you and everybody else should know that Jefferson County very continuously, I mean, I am the longest standing person who has been in part of this because they lose board members all the time. These board members are not paid huge amounts of money to come here. I mean, the commissioners and everybody else has to work very, very hard to find members of the community who are willing to give up their time and to sit here and to listen to these very, very important issues and make these decisions. No one on this board has any interest in dragging you through the mud or making this in any way a media issue. That is not this board's consideration. This board is tasked with going through Jefferson County's ordinance and making sure that the ordinance is followed and that procedure is followed and that everybody gets a due and fair opportunity to be heard. The problem is now we have two things that are pending on the same overlapping use on the same property, and it makes no sense to have two separate running lines when one could certainly impact the other. And everybody deserves an opportunity to have notice of that, especially when it's not going to have an immediate impact on your use of the thing.
But the sequence of events could, so the next, since mine's been pending, I assume that I get to go first. We have a special exception, we're having, let's say, assume these go next week.
You don't have any right to assert where you go in the agenda. The agenda is set by the president.
So that the board made a decision last week to commission based on fraudulent representations by the water board. That was based, I mean, they didn't cite this fraud. They basically.
The board cannot take any evidence at this time. So everything that you're saying cannot be considered by the board in the determination.
Well, I've asked, and I want to ask the board for a vote to reconsider the revocation, and if they say no,
You've
we
made your
stand by
request.
whatever, but I want to hear.
You made your request.
I'm
Mr.
asking
President,
for
do
a
you have,
revote.
Mr. President, do you have any?
Specifically, I want to have my special exception heard tonight, and if you say we want to table it, I'd like to have a vote on it, I want a public record made of that.
They already took a vote to table it.
I
and
heard
the
them
vote
say,
is-
I understood them to say that they were
Well,
voting.
you understood wrong, because that's not on the agenda. It's on the agenda today. All right, I'm done arguing. Mr. President,
Could you
it's to
repeat
you.
back
I'm done arguing, sir.
What was the motion?
It's up to you. Do you have any further motions that you would like to entertain this?
I think that
I made the motion to table it.
Yeah, the record's already been made. Do you have any further motions?
I never heard him use the word special exception. I heard him say a
Do
revocation.
you
and
have
we're
any
gonna
further
table it.
business, Mr.
That's the
President?
first order of business is the revocation.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. A second.
all in favor,
Aye.
all opposed. This meeting is adjourned.